Welcome to another edition of APB Instatainment, where today we welcome real estate mogul Ryan Serhant, star of Bravo's reality television series Million Dollar Listing New York and its spin-off It Like Serhant. As always, we want to share our thoughts with all those affected directly and indirectly by this pandemic, and especially the healthcare workers fighting it on the front lines. Welcome, Ryan.
How are you?
Doing great.
Ryan, thank you so much for being with us and taking time out of your day to speak with us.
Walk us through how you went from being a hand model and soap opera actor to being a successful realtor and star of the hit show Million Dollar Listing New York.
Oh, man. I was a hand model in New York City because I had to pay the bills. And it's just like any other odd job. It's like, you could either bartend, wait tables, work retail. Someone had taken a kind of modeling photo of me when my hands were like holding my face, kind of like a classic kid's pose. And it was submitted by somebody else to a AT&T commercial, and they called me to see it. And I went there to show them my hands because they were offering $150 an hour, which is all I would make in an entire day by doing any kind of other temp work, let's say, right? At like $10 an hour, $9 an hour or so. And they were offering $150 an hour for 10 hours work per day. It's like, wow, that's way better than waiting tables. And so I went to the audition, and there was a lot of crazy, serious hand models there. And I totally thought it was wild and stupid. And I walked out, and then they called me back and said, hey, you have the best hands we've seen. We want to give you the job. And so I held cell phones for AT&T, and I held Nespresso capsules and watches and all this stuff. My hands were on the sides of billboards, on the sides of buses and buildings. It was so weird, but awesome at the time. That was my claim to fame. I was hand famous back in 2007 and 2008 and 2009 actually. But hand modeling only takes you so far, and I needed like a real job, and acting was not working out. And a friend just said, listen, you can't hand model for the rest of your life, and you can't do free theater in someone's basement for the rest of your life. Like, you just, make your own hours, memorize information about buildings and apartments and homes, get your real estate license. It's super easy. Anyone can do it. You can literally get off a boat in New York City, take your real estate license exam, and advise people on $1 million purchases. Post ads on the internet. People will call you, meet them at Starbucks, walk them around. If you rent one apartment a month, if it's like, in New York City, apartments are expensive. So if I rented, a $2,000 a month apartment, that's probably one of the worst apartments you could find. My split with the house, it was 1 month's commission. And then with the house, with the brokerage, was 50-50. So I would show someone an apartment, and then I would make $1,000. All I had to do was do that twice a month, and I'd pay all my bills for the month. And then I could do whatever I want. I could hand model, I could act, I could whatever I wanted to do. So it seemed like a much better option than being stuck to a desk or to waiting tables or to hours somewhere else. And that's how I got into real estate. And my first day was the day Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, which was perfect. And I just got addicted to it. I was used to hard work, as an actor in the city. Even though I was not a successful one, I still, every day I woke up early. I had my schedule. Like, I submitted my headshot and resumes. I went to open casting calls. I made cold calls. I went to networking events. I went to see other shows. I did free performances everywhere to try to get seen. Like, I treated it like it was a job. And my parents really hammered that into my skull early on. And so, like, getting into real estate, as you guys know, is kind of the same thing, right? You wake up early. You look at your pitches, you figure out where you're going to prospect, you go on your appointments, you try to make things work, and you work for free until you make money. So whereas a lot of real estate agents get into the business in New York and they quit, I think it's something like 82 or 83% of all new real estate agents in New York City quit within the first 12 months because it's just too hard to make money. It's too hard to live here because it's just too expensive. For me, I'd figured out how to live in New York City on, $1,500 a month. And I had figured out kind of how to be okay with that. And I had figured out how to be okay with rejection. Like, at least in real estate, people weren't taking apartments. They weren't not taking apartments because of my face or because of my hair, right? They were not taking apartments because they found another one or they just didn't like it or whatever the reason was. And so I was okay with it. And that's really that's how I got into it.
What's been the most meaningful sale you've made and why?
Oh man, all of them. I remember every single deal I've ever done because they're all painful and they've all taken my blood, my sweat, my tears. My future children are probably dead inside them. Every deal in New York City is so hard. I don't think I've ever done a deal in the city that was like, whoa, that was actually pretty simple. I put a listing on the internet. People came through to open houses. I got an offer. Deal done. That happens in the rest of the United States. In New York City, you cannot do a transaction without attorneys. And attorneys, their sole job is to kill deals. So a lot of my life is spent trying to keep deals together. But there's been so many that have been important to me. I wrote about a lot of them in the book, actually. So I'm trying to think of one that's not in Sell It Like Serhant. I don't know. We sell a lot. We do. Last year I did 1.4 billion in closed in contract. And so I would say, there was an apartment that we listed a long time ago that had been on the market for a very long time that no one could sell. And, I wasn't a big broker at the time. It had been on the market for 10 million, then it was 9 million, then it was 8 million. And the seller was very tough and very particular. And I didn't really have listings like that at that price point. It was just, I know they're everywhere in New York City, but it wasn't not for me. And I got a chance to meet the owner through a banker that I had met, a mortgage banker. And he was like, listen, the cards are stacked against you. She's meeting with every broker in the city. They're all huge. You don't really do, you've never done a big sale like this. And so I just thought to myself, okay, you know what? Just like when I was acting and when I was auditioning, you got to think about what makes yourself different. So how am I going to be memorable in that room? What's going to be different, right? Because I want the listing. And then once I get the listing, then I'll figure it out. Like that's always my life, right? Say yes, figure it out later. And so if I just walk in there and if I'm nice, I look nice and I tell her what the comps are and that I'm going to take nice photos and do a floor plan and hey, here's our little booklet, she's not going to care and no one will care. And I remember distinctly, and her name was Wendy, going into that apartment. It was huge, 1965 Broadway, apartment 21 DCE. I remember them all. She stared me down as I walked down that hallway. And I was just like, wow, this is just so intimidating. And she sat and she said, okay, how are you going to sell my apartment? Like almost like she had no time for me. And I was like, we're going to raise the price. And the look on her face totally changed. She's like, what do you mean you're going to raise the price? I'm like, well, you probably have a lot of real estate agents coming in here who telling you that your price is just too high and that you need to adjust. And on ordinary circumstances, I would say that's true. But your apartment's very unique. It's very different. It's not an easy sell. That's for sure, because it's very big and very unique. But I think we should raise the price. I think we should raise the price by a lot, actually. I think you were last listed for 8. I think we should raise the price back to $10 million. And I think that we'll do 1-month listing agreements. Let's have them renew every 30 days, unless we do something in writing otherwise. That way you don't feel like you're stuck to me, like you were to your past agents or with other big brokerages. And what's the worst that can happen? Someone negotiates, someone offers you $2 million less, or you don't like me and you're only stuck with me for 30 days. Let me try. Let me see what I can do. I promise you we will not fail. And she agreed. And I was the only person that walked in that room and said that, who actually had conviction behind it too, right? I wasn't like, oh, the price is fine because of, Bob told me that. Like, and funny enough, what do you think we sold that place for?
10 million.
10.5.
10.5.
We had 2 people come through who couldn't understand why the price had gotten so high. They both fell in love with it. They both started their offers low. One offered 7.5. The other offered I think it was 8.2 or something. And they slowly bid against each other. And eventually, and I just worked them up, got them both to 10. And one came through and said, this is just bullshit. We'll pay 10.5, but that's it. And we're signing the contract tomorrow. And to this day, the seller still can't believe that happened. Me neither.
So if you're allowed to share, who's the most famous client you've had and what type of property did you help them purchase or sell?
Oh man. Uh, Unfortunately, I can't say most famous.
Maybe
I've
we
done
could just say like musician or actor, and we don't have to get too
Yeah,
specific.
I've worked with a bunch of, unfortunately, I haven't been able to work with a lot of musicians. I don't know. I've just not been in that kind of crew. I've worked with a lot of actors, athletes. They're all a pain in the butt. And models. We deal a lot with like Victoria's Secret models and supermodels. So just sold a big $6 million apartment to one of the biggest models in the world right now, over here in Soho. But I can't say who that is. Just know it's one of the biggest. But they're all, listen, they're all fickle. They're all finicky. They all have a lot of, a lot of people in their ear. They have parents, sisters, brothers, business managers, and they're all so focused on what they do that makes them money that they kind of like, they'll fall in love with the place, and you think you have a deal like you would with any normal person. But then, their seventh attorney steps in and says, oh, well, this isn't the right purchase at the right time. And then the deal's dead. So there's like, you always think that working with actors and celebrities and all that's going to be great, but oftentimes it's a lot of extra work and a lot of hand holding. And then they get a lot of people that don't want them to be taken advantage of because of who they are. And it's like, I'm just here to sell you a house.
Similarities in our world.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides having good looks and a charming personality, what characteristics make a good salesperson?
Great question. And you definitely wrote that before you saw my goatee and my afro hair and the fact that I'm in a t-shirt and backwards hat and didn't know that I was going to be doing this on Zoom. There are so many different characteristics that make a good salesperson. The first one is you have to be a good listener. Okay. Even if you don't think you have a personality or a sense of humor, even if you don't know anything about what it is you're selling, you have to be willing to listen, because there's nothing that anyone likes more than hearing the sound of their own voice, right? Just think about a baby. Babies cry because it makes them feel better to know that they're hearing their own voice and everything's okay. Like a mother hears their baby cry and realizes my baby's breathing. You need to be able to listen in order to respond instead of just listening in order to reply. People are so hardwired these days to just say what they want to say. And they're going to ask a question so that you can say whatever you're going to say, but so then I can tell you what I want to say, right? We all know those people, and most of them are bad salespeople, right? You need to be able to listen so you can respond, even if what the answer is that you're getting from the question that you've asked isn't what you want to hear. That's got to be 100% okay with you. That's a really important one. That's really, really hard to teach. You also have to be very disciplined. The best salespeople, are obviously hardworking. They obviously have the ability to do good follow-up. There's a lot of good things that salespeople have about them, but they are incredibly disciplined with their time. They're incredibly disciplined with their actions and their expectations and what they do day in and day out, right? They wake up at the right time. They push, right? They do their client meetings. They know what their schedule is going to be like. From what I've seen, the best salespeople are incredibly scheduled and they stick to it because they know that time is their greatest asset. But I could answer that question for a year, probably.
As you mentioned, your transition came during the 2008 economic downturn. What advice would you give to people that might transition to different careers due to the economic repercussions from this pandemic?
Just start. I did a vlog about it. I want to say 2 weeks ago, where I ran through New York City totally empty. And it was really just all about how I was thinking a lot that week about how I started in the middle of the recession at the absolute worst time. In hindsight, it was the absolute best time. Good things don't happen at good times, right? And when they do, take it and run. But for the most part, when times are bad and times are rough and times are scary and you've been let go and you've lost your job and you're scared about money, that's when you dive in even further. And I know it sounds cliche and everyone talks about it and it's all over social and YouTube and Warren Buffett quotes, but it is so true. And it's a reason everyone talks about it. Like right now, when the world has come to a total stop, is when you should be brainstorming and creating business plans and starting your next thing, whether it's getting into real estate sales or insurance sales or starting whatever it is that you want to start. And the hardest thing for people to do is to just start. And that's my best piece of advice, is just start. Just get it started, because that's the toughest part, right? It's like the toughest part about the morning isn't the shower. The toughest part about the morning is getting out of bed, right? But eventually we know we have to get out of bed. And so you do it, but you might snooze 8 times, right? But you just know, like, and every morning, I'm here again. Wow. Again, I'm tired and I'm in bed and I don't want to get up. All I have to do is move my right foot and get out of bed. Why is it so difficult? So if you just start, right, that first step, you get out of bed, you are good to go, because the rest of the day is going to follow. So if you just start with that plan, the rest is going to follow. It's the same thing. And we're hardwired for that. That's the best advice I can give. And, I would also say, kind of selfishly, one of the benefits that I had to starting during the Great Recession was that it was hard for everybody, veterans and amateurs alike. If I lost a deal or didn't have any money coming in that week, I'd come back to my office and everyone was depressed. So it was, misery loves company a little bit. I feel bad for agents that get into the business over the last couple of years, because the market's been so busy that, that agent with nothing comes into an office that's buzzing and bubbling and people are making money and doing deals, and you got nothing. There's a lot of pressure there, right? You're seeing people left and right doing deals. How do you feel good about yourself when you got hung up on 50 times that day? So now, everyone's being hung up on. People can't even go outside in a lot of places right now. Definitely not in New York City. So this is the best time to start, because you're starting at the bottom. The only place we have to go from where we are right now is up. And that's the best trajectory you ever want.
Well, it sounds like you're probably keeping busy with work, keeping a schedule, grinding. What other things are keeping you busy during quarantine?
Oh my goodness, the baby. I have a baby now. She's 14 months, going on 14 years. She's an early learner, early developer. She was walking before 10 months. She's talking. She's moving way too fast. I'm concerned it's because we conceived her through IVF, which my wife has talked about a lot. So I'm not saying something that's weird. She wrote a children's book about it too, that's out now, called To the Moon and Back for You, about kind of the struggles that kind of anyone has with infertility. But I'm a little bit nervous that they made a super baby, because we had the Petri dishes and all the doctors and scientists and taking the best ones and sticking them together. We didn't make a regular kid while we were drunk, where we would have a regular baby who's nice and normal. We have the Arnold Schwarzenegger baby who's just slowly ruining our lives. She's awesome. I'm not sending her back, but man, oh man, she is a manipulative little girl, and she knows it, and she takes up a lot of the time. That and work. I love working, and I would always say, if someone ever asked me the key to my success, is that I just actually I deep in my core, I love to work. I love my office. I love my desk. I love systems. I love building. I love figuring things out. I love puzzles. I love the thrill of it, the chase of it. I love doing busy work. I love admin work. I don't know why. Maybe I have a disease. But the love for work has really kept me going over the years, especially when the work is really, really kind of a slog. Or right now, I'm not showing apartments. We're not selling apartments, really. Just working to work to get work done. And I know there's a lot of people that would have a really hard time with that.
So stepping off that answer, what's the one thing you miss most during this quarantine and you're looking forward to getting back to, individually and as a family?
What do I miss the most about life before quarantine?
Exactly.
My team. I have a large team of 60 people, and I miss the hustle and bustle in the office. I miss talking. I miss seeing people. I think like anybody, right? You miss kind of the same things. But at the same time, I also appreciate the extra time that this has given me to be with family. Before quarantine, I was never home before 8:30, 9 p.m. every day. Now I try to get home 5:30. I work all day, but I try to get home early. It's not like I have a dinner event. or any event for that matter. And I get to see the baby and put the baby down and kind of be a part of that whole process and, be home when the sun is out. Like, that's been pretty awesome. So I'll miss that part. But I do miss my team. I miss the people. And I miss selling homes.
How about as a family? What's going to be the first thing that you guys do when everything's all clear?
Oh my God. Take the baby to like a music class or a place where there's other people and leave her there. Let her experience life with other people. I think she is so sick of us. Like, she lives in a bubble with me, my wife, and my mother-in-law, and we're all there together. And that's what she knows of the world. And she knows that she gets to go on walks, but she can't see other people. She's like, she's so young. I don't think she even remembers like the babies that she used to hang out with last year, because it's just, that was 25% of her life ago. So, it's definitely what we're going to do, is put her back in situations where she can, because she's such a social baby. Like, she stands at our window in our apartment and she literally will wave to people in the apartment across the building across the street from us. And she'll yell down at the cars below. And when we take her to the park, we got to put a little leash on her because we got to socially distance this kid. But she will just run up to everyone and just want to hug them and wave to them and talk to them. It's awesome because I did not do that when I was a little kid, and I was very shy and terrified of my own shadow. So it's fun. I think it's cool that she's outgoing from such an early age. It's in the blood, right? She didn't learn it.
Earlier, you discussed your book, It Like Serhant. We were wondering, because we heard a rumor that it originally had a different title. What was that?
Balls Up.
Balls Up.
Yeah, my theory has always been for sales that I want to have as many balls in the air as possible. Kind of like my sales game theory. You know that movie, A Beautiful Mind, with Russell Crowe? John Nash, when he came up with his game theory of economics, where you don't just want to go after the blonde. No offense, because you're blonde, but you'd go after kind of all the brunettes. That way, everybody wins at the same time, instead of just going after the prized possession. It's the same thing for me. Instead of just focusing on one deal at a time, or like a couple at a time, I want to focus on as many deals as I possibly can at a time. And I want to figure out what that system is that I need to have to be able to have as many balls in the air as possible. And so when I wrote the treatment for the book, kind of the book proposal, if you will, Balls Up made the most sense, and I sold it to the publisher under the title Balls Up. And then only later did they come to me and say, "Can we talk about the title? We should probably talk. We should probably not put this in airports under this title. It's just not a good time." And so we changed it to the title of the show.
So for those who might not have had a chance to read your book yet, what are a couple of the key takeaways that people could expect from it?
Kind of a lot of what we've been talking about. It's very much my story, but it is a funny, smart business book. It is everything you need to know, not only for how to sell, okay, but it's how to build a sales career. Because I think there's lots of books out there about how to sell. There's lots of books about there, how to sell a banana, how to negotiate. What I could not find, and the reason I ended up writing it, was I want to build an amazing career. I want to be incredibly successful as a salesperson. How do I do that? Like, what do I need to know? What's my first step? What do I do at 9 a.m.? What do I do at 12 p.m.? I wanted, tactical advice, and I wanted real advice from someone that's actually doing this day in and day out, which is me. And that's what the book is, right? And all the takeaways are about how to stay disciplined, how to stay organized, how to talk to people, how to structure my day. I structure my day under a system I called Finder, Keeper, Doer, because my days are broken down into 3 blocks every day. It's the way that I'm able to stay as organized as I am, given the fact that I don't have anyone telling me what to do. If I still worked on the ranch back home in Colorado, I wouldn't need to do that, because I know that Tuesday is the feed day, and it's the day that I also paint fence. Like, all right, great. But when you're an entrepreneur and your job is just to do more all day long, you need structure, right? And it's got my follow-up system, which is very, very, very coordinated and choreographed amongst many, many other things. It's the greatest sales book ever written, if you don't mind me saying.
Any plans for a new book in the future?
Yes, writing one right now. And we will announce it, I think, in the next couple weeks.
Well, thank you so much again for talking with us, Ryan. And for anybody interested in having Ryan speak to your group, contact us at apbspeakers.com. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Ryan.
much.
Appreciate it.